Good morning, my name is Stewart Christie. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Reef Restoration Foundation. We're a not-for-profit organisation, a social enterprise based in Cairns. So before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land that we meet today. I'd also like to acknowledge basically my fellow directors, co-founders, volunteers, financial supporters who have all kind of made this thing possible. So really, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk to you about kind of the three key challenges, I suppose, that we faced in establishing the first coral nursery at Great Barrier Reef in Fitzroy Island last December. I'm going to talk to you about the solutions, how we overcame them, where we're going, and how you can get involved and actually kind of making a difference in the Great Barrier Reef. So, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here, I'm from Scotland. My background's in the construction industry, started as a carpenter, mature student in civil engineering, a lot more engineers here than I had ever anticipated being, so every second person seems to be an engineer. Ran major sort of infrastructure projects for about 16 years, became the CEO of the Economic Development Organisation here in the region, and then really got into sustainable development, set up my own company, and then a couple of years ago met Gary and we kind of set up Reef Restoration Foundation. So we've talked extensively about the kind of the problems facing the reef in the last couple of days, and I'm not going to go into them in any kind of detail, but one of the key things for us, it's a massive economic driver for this region, for coastal communities throughout Queensland. $6 billion a year in expenditure, 64,000 jobs it supports. So there have been two kind of recent back-to-back bleaching events, which kind of created extensive negative media affecting the kind of the destination, about the reef, and more importantly, effectively, it started kind of really affecting, particularly in our community, the mental health really of kind of people in our community, about really seeing that there's kind of a lack of hope and optimism for the kind of the reef. So how we kind of got started, Gary McKenna, who's here today, effectively is our kind of founder. Gary was, during the first kind of bleaching event, he's a kind of a coral hobbyist at home, he's got his own tank, he's kind of cutting coral, seeing how it kind of started regenerating and regrowing. I thought, well, is this something that can actually be taken to a bigger scale? Did some more research, seen how this was happened overseas, got involved in a social enterprise incubator program. I was a mentor on that program. I got involved with Gary. We decided how do we kind of scale it. I then got Rob, Adam, effectively Elmarie involved to kind of bring that team with kind of diverse skills in science, project delivery, finance and tourism. And then we also managed to kind of persuade Ken Nedimyer, who's kind of an international expert based in Florida Keys, to kind of come and support and provide some strategic advice to us. So it was clear to us that with the first bleaching event, and particularly the second, that we really needed to kind of end up seeing some action to happen now to start regenerating some hope and optimism for the future of the reef. So these are the kind of the three key challenges, I suppose, that we sort of looked at, that drove the solution that we ended up picking and how we kind of moved forward. And it was really kind of important for us to kind of end up being really clear on who the customer was, who's going to pay for this solution, what solution do they want to kind of see and for what problem, what will the regulators and what will allow us to do, so Gebler, QPWS and Agriculture and Fisheries, and to actually then secure the investment and prove that this thing actually works. So who's the customer? So up to date, effectively, the kind of the key customer for kind of undertaking restoration projects or any environmental projects on the reef has obviously been the state government and the federal government. But what we wanted to look at is who else kind of benefits and where can we actually kind of get started. So this is a slide from the United States just showing kind of wealth, and it kind of builds on some of the stuff that Rich Gilmore talked about this morning, but really about where it actually is the kind of the wealth. The problems facing the reef are massive, they're complex, they're complicated, much more than any kind of government can actually kind of fund. So we looked at, where is the kind of the wealth? So the corporate sector, private individuals who actually want to get involved are ready to do that. How do we actually kind of create mechanisms for them to get involved? So we really focused on the tourism sector, who are obviously a kind of key beneficiary of the reef, and how do we actually kind of end up helping them to kind of get some solutions that are actually going to make a difference, because they were crying out for wanting to do something now and very quickly that actually can start protecting the value of their assets. So to me, effectively, a good process gives you good outcomes. We're a small startup, we wanted to kind of move quickly. This is an approach that we've ended up adopting. It's very similar to adaptive management techniques, so it's about learning fast, improving, and using kind of very limited resources in a very targeted way. So learning fast and getting going quickly. Ideally, I'd like it to look on the left-hand side, the kind of process we went through, but it really is more like the one on the right, and I had more here than many used when I started this process, and look what's happened to me. So as Mr. Mars basically talked about earlier on, there's a massive need. Great Barrier Reef is huge, but there's a very limited number of sites within the Great Barrier Reef that's actually used by the tourism sector that supports that $6 billion a year industry. So where we ended up, it was clear from the discussions we'd had with the tourism sector that you know, the problem that they wanted solving was to end up having something that gave them a proactive solution that could start looking after the health of the reef and that protect their assets, their businesses. So our mission really is to kind of end up regenerating high value coral reefs by using proven technology. So what we're focused on is actually delivering technical solutions that have actually been proven in other locations. So we're not an R&D organisation, we're all about delivery and implementation. So when we started looking at what are the solutions out there, here's some of the solutions that have been proven are out there. But what we were looking for was something that could be deployed quite quickly, was proven, had low capital and operational costs, and was something that we felt that the regulators would see as potentially low risk to allow us to kind of get going. So we quickly kind of narrowed down into kind of coral nurseries, looked at different solutions. Again, there's kind of pros and cons of both. But coral tree nurseries was effectively the methodology that we thought would be most appropriate to get us going initially, because it's out of the water column, less risk of being kind of taken out by cots. You can lower it and increase it in the water columns. You know, in the upcoming of a kind of a bleaching event, potentially end up being kind of cooler water for periods of time and less likely to be impacted by kind of cyclones. So this is a process. We kind of collect some coral that we know have kind of naturally more heat tolerant, so it was through the last couple of bleaching events, take cuttings of that, and it gets hung on the frames. The frames allow it to kind of accelerate the growth of that coral. And then we start outplanting the coral. So we've just got the permit yesterday, thank you very much Rianne, to allow us to do our first plant, which we hope will happen this weekend. So, as you might have seen from some of the presentations this morning, when you start talking to kind of the regulators, that it can seem quite overwhelming. So we started with sort of the discussions really was where can we start and how do we kind of end up doing that. So up until before May last year, you weren't allowed to do any intervention initiatives within the Great Barrier Reef. There was a summit that happened. We were part of that summit. It was recognised there was a need for urgent action and that coral restoration should actually be part of that mix of solutions. So that happened at the end of May last year. Within 6 weeks after that, we had an application in for 6 sites, effectively to set up coral nurseries in different locations. And within 3 months, working really closely with Rianne, with Julia and with Saskia, I think who are here today, I'd really like to thank you guys for really working exceptionally hard and working with us, effectively to kind of end up getting the permit. When we got the permit, we'd been talking to the kind of tourism industry about funding, and they thought we might get something. They didn't tell us this until afterwards, but they thought that we wouldn't get a permit for 9 to 18 months. So when we turned up and we said we'd actually got it in 3 months, they were a bit shocked, and we were really committed to actually getting something happening in the water by the end of the year. So we secured some seed funding effectively from these organisations to actually get started and to prove the concept really quickly as part of that lean startup process, just to kind of keep moving. We also partnered effectively with Tropwater and Reef Ecologic, who effectively are providing the science effectively to our to prove the monitoring and evaluation is actually happening. And with the thanks of many of the stars sitting in the audience today, we actually got the first pilot in just before the start of the wet season. So we really had one weekend, one window of opportunity to actually make it happen. So we got it in, and it started to kind of grow. So these are some images effectively taken last weekend of the same coral fragment that was put in December, how it's kind of performing now in July. This year we had the opposite of the last couple of years, where we had a big wet season. At Fitzroy Island, effectively the water quality hasn't been fantastic. So we've been really pleased that the corals have actually kind of continued to grow. So from 24 fragments initially that we took, we've created 240 corals. Those corals have all kind of grown in size from 40 to 150% each. And the performance of the corals we've been really happy with. So from getting the first kind of nursery in, we were then able to demonstrate we had some traction. So we got some support effectively through the National Australia Bank. Unfortunately, we didn't get all the 1.6 million, unfortunately, but we got a little chunk of that, which kind of has really helped us to kind of start moving forward. And from there, we've also got some support from some of these other organisations, and we were recognised by the Queensland Government and put on through a kind of accelerator programme to help us develop our ideas. So our goal, effectively, is within 3 years to be growing and planting 25,000 corals a year. And as I said at the start, we really want to be a kind of a development, an implementation organisation. So where we started was where we thought we can get started with the least risk to get things kind of going. This is our kind of timeline, and one of the things that we want to kind of get from this conference is, as you've got kind of proven technology ready to go, we really want to be a kind of a partner that helps you implement some of these ideas once they've been proven and they're ready to go. So what we're looking for really today is kind of partnership opportunities. So if you're thinking of setting up a coral restoration organisation in the Great Barrier Reef, please come and talk to us. We've been through so much pain in the last 18 months that we would really like you to not to have to go through so much pain, so please come and work with us. If you're a technology provider, that you've got solutions that are ready to go, please come and talk to us. If you've got some solutions out there that can help us reduce our costs and become much more efficient at what we do, we'd love to talk to you. And if you've got any spare cash that's sitting around that you want to really kind of invest in our organisation, Mr. Mars, please come and talk to us kind of later. So thank you very much. And why won't you kind of partner with us? We've got an established track record. We're focused on delivery and implementation. We've actually got something that's kind of scalable and tangible. And we've actually got a really strong kind of board and team that've got diverse skills actually can make stuff happen. So thank you very much. Happy to take questions or to kind of have a chat with you afterwards.